Microphone check. All right. What's up, everyone? Instructor Cory here. Today we're gonna do some motorcycle crash reviews to help you learn and be safe on the streets on your motorcycle. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here, and as we go, we'll get some more people hopping in the live stream. Feel free to say hi, ask any questions you have as we go. All right. So the goal here is to educate, inform, so we can all be safer out on the roads. We can learn from the mistakes of others by watching some of these crashes and see what we can learn. So we're riding along. We already got a vehicle up ahead. Looks like brake lights are engaged, so we already want to be slowing down, giving ourselves more time and space to react. You can see this car is kind of drifting off to the side, still slowing down, and this biker just proceeds to continue on and crash right into the side of it. So let's take another look at that one. So we saw at the end of that crash, this motorcycle rider has a passenger on their bike. So it looks like, based on the body language of the biker here, kind of moving their hands around on the controls, that they might be communicating with the passenger currently. So maybe they have some kind of Bluetooth setup on the helmets, as a lot of two-up riders often will. They're communicating as they're cruising down the road, having a good day, riding a motorcycle. The problem with this is it can be a form of distraction. If you're talking to your passenger on the back, maybe you're kind of tuned out and you're not focusing on hazards in the road up ahead. So if you're going to rock a Bluetooth and communicate with your passenger, it's very important that you continue to pay attention and that you're able to multitask and do those things at the same time. Otherwise, you need to give your passenger heads up and say, hey, I need to be quiet for a minute. I need to focus on the road so that I can keep us safe and not kill us on this motorcycle. So let's watch again. So I'll just give you some personal insights. If I'm riding this motorcycle right now, it's a 2-lane highway. I know I have a vehicle up ahead. I know there's vehicles coming in that oncoming lane. As soon as I see that vehicle up ahead, that's a potential hazard or threat, something that might kill me and my passenger on my motorcycle. So I'm already in this state of awareness and preparedness to take action. Maybe with this kind of space cushion I have currently, I'm feeling pretty good about it. But as soon as that starts to shrink even a little bit, I'm going into a more heightened state of awareness, and I want to be ready to react and respond. So watch as this car ahead starts to put on their brake lights and slow down, and that space cushion starts to shrink, that following distance. This biker doesn't really have any sort of reaction. It's almost like they froze up in a state of fear and paralysis. So already it looks like brake lights, and this biker just continues on, right? And now at this point, if the car is slowing down, maybe even coming to a stop here and drifting over to the shoulder on the left side, we need to anticipate, what is this car doing? We can try to look beyond the vehicle and see, is there hazards up ahead in the road? Is there an animal that's loose? Is this driver stopping, slowing down for a reason? And then try to identify what that reason is. If you can't see, if you're not sure, then your best course of action is probably to slow yourself down and come to a stop as well, because you don't want to keep going and try to go around this car and then face the hazard that they were seeing and dealing with. You don't want to continue on and have this car U-turn and you crash into the side of it like what happens here. If you don't have information, you need to come to a stop and buy more time and space until you can gain information. Otherwise, the alternative is you have no clue, you keep going, and you end up paying the price for it. So already here, notice this biker's lane positioning. They drifted over towards the dividing line here. And you can kind of see that car's body language. If you've been riding for a while, you can get used to watching the body language, the vehicle language of other motorists. if this car drifts over towards the shoulder and has those brakes applied, maybe you can anticipate they're going to pull off on the shoulder and sit there. Or maybe you could even anticipate, hey, they're looking for a spot to turn around. Notice another thing here that I'll notice is on the left side, there's just a little bit of a shoulder, and then looks like maybe a curb and some grass and that fence. But notice on this right side of the road, there's a big shoulder over there, like a pull-off area. So maybe that's what this driver ahead is waiting for. They were looking for this gravel area. They were looking for a chance, a break in traffic, to slow down and pull over into that gravel. And maybe there's some scenic views over here, big fields, maybe some animals roaming around. So it looks like they're set up to want to pull off into that gravel area and maybe stop and, check things out. So these are little bits, clues, and awareness that we can have when we're riding our bike. What's going on in the head of that driver? Why are they doing what they're doing? There is probably a reason, so we need to try and anticipate and predict what it is so we don't pay the price on our bike. So at this point, you're not sure what's going on, start applying those brakes, come into a stop, maintaining that following distance and that space cushion between you and that vehicle so that you don't crash into it. So notice here, we're already way too close. We're still continuing on with too much speed and no information. And then we end up crashing as a result. Now, thankfully, the crash didn't look that bad based on the speeds. There was some slowing down that happened, so that's good. You saw some movement from the passenger there at the end. So hopefully both riders walked away okay, and it looked pretty minimal as far as I can tell. But it could have been avoided altogether if you slow down, anticipate ahead of time, and move yourself, position yourself, take some kind of action to prevent crashing into that vehicle, right? If it was me, I see that car slowing down, pulling over to the side, I'm just going to slow down, pull over to the side, maybe stop my bike. I'm checking my mirrors behind me, make sure other people aren't going to rear end both of us. But I want to gain information and know what's going on before I just continue on. In no case, in no scenario am I just going to keep cruising, hoping for the best, and then have this accident play out like that. So let's take a look at the next one and see what we can learn. For those of you just popping in, howdy, say hi in the chat if you like. All right, so we're kind of low light conditions here. Wow. Looks like this probably took off from the stop there and gave it too much throttle and kind of lost control right out of the gate. That back wheel, too much throttle, hit the white paint on the ground, just low-sided it, dumped it. There's a lot going on right there in a short period. So we'll let this finish playing out, and then we'll go back and try and review and see what actually is going on. All right. So that's another tip to bring up. That first clip is a bright, sunshiny day, like perfect visibility as far as you can see. This scenario, it's a little bit lower light situation. Can't tell if it's sunrise or sunset. Might be really early in the morning if I had to guess. But you can see the cars have their headlights on. It's, dusk or dawn, and a little bit more limited visibility. And especially with the headlights glaring in your eyes, sometimes that makes it a lot harder to see. So that's one thing to be aware of right away. Can't see as well. Other people probably can't see me as well. So as far as gaining information goes, like we talked about in the first one, that's going to be more of a challenge when you have impaired or limited visibility in order to gain information. So that means already we need more time, more space to react to be able to gain information when it's limited. So let's check this out. My guess here is that this biker pulls up here to the stop sign. There's that big white line. Looks like they have the blinker on. They want to turn left here. So they're doing good so far. This looks like kind of a cross-traffic street, maybe a three-way stop. Looks like white paint on the ground on all sides. So everybody's taking their turn, ready to go. This white car coming across, that darker car on the far side, getting ready to go. And then it looks like this biker wants to take their turn. Let's check it out. Okay, so as soon as the white car goes, this biker just takes off. So already you can see we're up to 16 miles an hour here. So coming to that stop, we should be in first gear, preparing to get moving. And in this traffic situation, this biker might be on the newer side. They might be kind of feeling pressured or in a rush to get moving. And that can be a big common problem for a lot of beginner riders is, okay, I just got to the stop sign. I don't want to make anybody wait. I need to be ready to move immediately. And that can cause a big problem and get you into a crash if you're trying to rush things, right? A lot of bikers will stall because of that. They'll launch the clutch and end up stalling and sitting there and holding up traffic even longer. And other riders might end up in a situation like this where they release the clutch too quickly, give it too much throttle, and end up taking off into this intersection. So that looks like the case here. And then trying to correct it. It looks like that back tire was kind of washing out already. And then you can see how the front end kind of snaps back and dives. So back end probably started to slide, and then they maybe got scared, grabbed the whole of that front brake, and just went right down on the ground. But main takeaway from that right there is probably that instance or that scenario of feeling pressure, feeling this necessity or this need to quickly go. That's one thing that I advocate on my motorcycle all the time. Hey, what's up, Lovato? How you doing, brother? But that's one thing that I advocate for all the time is to never let other motorists pressure you into going before you're ready. And me personally, I'm going to take as much time as I need. I don't want to hold up traffic forever and ever, but if I'm not ready to go, and it's the difference between go now and potentially die, or sit here and piss some people off and take my time and get myself ready and then go and be safe, that's an easy decision every single time. So even if it's a three-way stop right there, I pull up to the stop sign and I know, okay, one car goes, now it's my turn, this is my window. If I'm not ready, if I got an itch on my nose, if I got a cramp in my hand, whatever the case, if I'm mentally just not feeling like I'm ready to ease that clutch out and get moving yet, I'm going to sit there. And I'll maybe even wave my hand and let a few other cars go until I'm ready, until I'm prepared. So take that in mind. Patience, no pressure, no rush is one of the biggest benefits and tools and safety implements that you can use on your motorcycle. Never be in a rush, never be in a hurry. Let's check out this next one. Hey, thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Let me know how the stream is doing. I have pretty crappy internet, but we're trying to get something accomplished here and educate some people. So let me know how the audio sounds, how the video's doing, if the stream buffering a lot and it sucks or what. Try and make some improvements as we go. But I appreciate you being here and the kind words. Thanks a lot. All right, let's watch this one again. It happens so quick. You start these clips and the biker's cruise and everything looks good, and then next thing you look and they're in the ditch. So speedometer's at 64 right there already. That looks like a little fast for those roads. All right, so we're cruising along, doing about 60 miles an hour maybe. Camera's kind of low. And then it just kind of washes out. So it looks like this biker was probably just going a little too fast for the conditions there. Maybe it's early. Well, we got some leaves on the ground, so this is kind of fall. So maybe a little bit chilly. Maybe the tires aren't quite warmed up enough. So maybe we have some reduced traction situation here. Maybe this road is cold. The tires are cold. You encounter wet, dry leaves, stuff like that. You can have reduced traction. And any little errors that you can get away with on perfect conditions, you definitely are going to have to take into bigger consideration in these conditions, right? Anytime you have reduced traction, every little mistake is exponentially bigger, right? And could cause you to crash. So audio is good. Video is a little laggy, but not bad. All right, cool to hear. Yeah, we'll try to get the video action into a better state. But thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that. So tell me about it, Lovato. What you up to? What kind of bike you riding? How's things going? You said I was your instructor about a year ago, so update me. Tell me the story. How's things been? Have you been applying what you learned and riding safely on the streets? Tell me all about it. I'd love to hear some feedback from students. All right, let's check this one more time. So the high speed is definitely a concern for me. I'm trying to look at the right hand here of the rider already. It looked like there's some aggressive shifting happening, like kind of, throttle blipping and stuff like that. But now I'm looking at that gloved right hand on the bottom of the screen there. It's a white and black glove. It looks like the fingers are already covering the front brake, maybe even engaging the front brake a little bit right there. And it looks like we're in the middle of a turn. So that's one thing I don't like to see already is, we're coming around these curves too fast, maybe riding outside of our limits, going too fast for our skill and having to slow down in the middle of a turn to not dump it. And that looks like ultimately what probably resulted in the crash here in a minute. Because as far as I can tell, we take like one turn and then right into this next turn. It's like, yeah, I mean, it looks a little chilly. If I had to guess, those roads look a little cold. So cold tires, cold bike, could be an early morning kind of ride or just cold situation, some reduced traction. The roads look pretty clear to me as far as like dried leaves and anything like that. So that shouldn't be anything for us to have to worry about. So it looks like maybe just speed is a factor, maybe not looking far enough through the turn. That's one of the problems with like cameras and GoPros is sometimes we get this video footage and it looks really obvious for us watching the video. We're like, oh, look, there's a hazard right there. Why aren't you seeing that? But there's a big difference between what the camera lens is looking at and what the motorcyclist's eyeballs are actually looking at and what they're paying attention to. So sometimes that's kind of a disconnect that people don't understand. But this rider could be, zoning out, looking off towards the right into that green grassy field over there and target fixating on something. They could be having just a momentary lapse of judgment and zoning out altogether. Whatever the case may be, we need to be looking through this curve all the way towards the exit, be able to see where we're going. That way we have that information, and that way we're getting to our destination on our motorcycle. But yeah, roads look good. Visibility is not too bad. A little bit of fog looks like. Boom, right there. And now this is right hand again. It looks like it's got that front brake engaged on the right side there. So maybe just an instance of cold roads, riding a little too fast for the conditions, maybe not looking all the way through the turn, and then getting kind of scared halfway through the turn and just grabbing a hold of some brakes. Maybe felt that back tire start to lose a little bit of traction in that turn, and that can cause people to panic and grab a hold of that brake 9 times out of 10. And then we end up just having this low side happen. Boom, back wheel washes out, and we just end up sliding into the guardrail. But great conclusion right there. You can see the rider, it doesn't really look like they make much impact, if any, with the guardrail. Their bike looks mostly okay from what you can tell. Kind of just that low slide, and ends up coming to a stop here on the shoulder. It looks like another vehicle just went by right there as they came to the stop. So as far as crashes go, it looks like the biker's mostly geared up as well, so that's awesome. Hitting that engine cutoff switch right there. The back wheel was still spinning. Looks like they have a buddy coming up to check on them. So you can see the roads right there. Like they have a little bit of a shine on them. Makes it look like they might be a little touch wet from what I can see in this video footage. Like they're just a little bit shiny. So wet and shiny usually equals slick, means reduced traction. You can also see all the cracks in the asphalt right there. So maybe the roads aren't the best condition or the most well-maintained roads either. So that's going to affect our traction. We might have some bumps and kind of toss and turn us around as we're riding through these curves at 60 miles an hour. A little bit reduced traction on top of that. It's a good recipe to slide out, lose traction, and crash your bike. So slow it down, take your time, identify the condition of the roads, and be prepared for these things and make adjustments beforehand so you don't end up, kind of rolling the dice and gambling like, yeah, I can ride 60 miles an hour through these curves. I'll be just fine. And then you feel that loss of traction, you panic, you grab brakes, and you end up dumping it. So pretty bummer situation, but biker is up on their feet and motorcycle's not completely wrecked. So that's good. Oh yeah, bicycle riders coming to check on them. Cool. All right, let's get an update on the chat here, see how we're looking. Lovato, I started with a 300, but it was a little difficult to maneuver in traffic as I'm a big guy, so I got a 800. Now I feel way more capable in heavy traffic, mostly just commute to work and home. Awesome. So commuting back and forth, the 800 feels a lot more comfortable. The 300 felt difficult to maneuver in traffic. So it sounds like you felt like you're bigger on this tiny little bike and it's kind of feels awkward and not very comfortable to ride, and just kind of maybe your confidence wasn't all there dealing with this littler machine, but now the bigger machine, you fit better on it, so there's a better feel, so that allows you to feel more confident. That's definitely can be the case for many riders. So glad to hear that you found a bike that fits you and works better for you. That's pretty much the case with any tool that you encounter, no matter what hobby or sport or activity you're in. Like, you want the tool for the job and the tool that fits you. So great to hear that you found one that feels better now. I literally hear your voice in my head in turns and while switching lanes to turn my head more and look where I want to go. Awesome. I love to hear that. So hopefully it's not my voice in your head just nagging you and annoying you all day, but it sounds like it's trying to remind you of some good lessons and good advice and stuff like that as you're cruising. So glad to hear that. Glad it's helpful. I don't know what kind of delay. Maybe that's another piece of feedback you can give from the time that a question or something gets written in the chat to the time I'm able to see it and then respond to it. I think there's a little bit of a delay on that, so I don't know how long it is or what, but we'll try and keep updated on that. All right. If you have a one single thing, Lovato, that one piece of advice or one lesson or one instance of hearing my voice, one top thing that you always think of or remember that helps you out, that you feel like is the most useful thing, let me know what that is. All right, let's check out this next clip, see what we're doing. So we already got a group ride. Looks like we got one rider up ahead doing a wheelie. So I'll try to let it play fully before we start breaking into it. My habit as an instructor is like, I'm just a safety conscious motorcycle rider is, wow. As soon as I see a hazard, I want to identify it and deal with it right then and there. So it's hard to watch the full clip and watch disaster happen. I want to just be able to pause and fix it before it becomes an issue. Well, all right. So yeah, let's take another look at that one. That was kind of the full deal. Anytime you're on a group ride, it's a potential to be a recipe for disaster, kind of a circus sometimes with the way people ride in groups, and especially if you have riders that are inclined to do stuff on their own and individual rides. Like, if any one of these riders in this group enjoys doing wheelies down public roads and racing and kind of hooliganing around, as soon as you put those riders into a group, into a pack of 20 or 30 or even 10, whatever, that kind of gets compounded. Then everybody's feeding off each other's energy, right? One person starts doing a wheelie, now another person wants to do wheelies, Now everybody's got GoPros filming, so they all want to film each other and get some cool footage of them doing wheelies, and it just compounds more and more until nobody's paying attention to the road or hazards or threats. They're all just kind of playing around and watching each other and egging each other on and hyping each other up to get cool footage and do cool stunts and kind of goof around. And that becomes a very dangerous situation very quickly in a group ride. You need everybody fully alert, fully aware, ready to go in good positions with good space cushion, following distance, watching out for threats and hazards. Everybody needs to be tuned in. That way the whole group can stay safe, and every one individual in the group as well. As soon as everybody's kind of distracted, that all breaks down. There's no awareness, no communication, and then you have people crashing and wiping each other out. So let's check it out again. So as soon as I see this rider doing a wheelie, I'm on alert. I want to separate myself from this group, or at least widen my space cushion. Okay, so that rider takes a hit in the back right there. That's what that little bump was. And he's even adjusting his mirror, it looks like, at one point to check out this group that's behind him. Yeah, right there. Let's see if we can get that again. So they're coming up to a red light. Boom. You see that little impact happen. And then the rider behind him's bike is sliding across the ground. Let's see if we can freeze it on that. So yeah, he peeks back like, what was that? Something hit me. And you see a motorcycle on the ground. Yeah, my connection's a little slow on my end too. See if we can get this shot. Yeah, as you can see the tire right there on the bottom left side, already laying on the ground. Also, another thing I do when I pause the video here, I'm just looking at kind of the overall gear situation, protective gear of the riders in this group. Looks like the rider who's filming maybe wearing some like Icon 29ers, some cheapo little gloves, and a black sweatshirt. The rider right across there that we can see looks like a white tennis shoe and some socks showing, maybe some, black jeans or sweatpants, and then just a hoodie. So very minimal protective gear is one thing I noticed right away. So you already have that kind of hooligan, wheelies, goof around mentality. We're in a group situation. We're wearing minimal gear. We're maybe speeding, maybe not following all the traffic laws and rules of the road. And now all those things are starting to stack up, and just, it's already risky to ride a motorcycle when you do everything correctly. But now you're just adding risk on top of risk when you start doing all these things and making these mistakes. So then your percentage of something bad happening just rises and rises until it eventually hits 100% chance that you're going to have an issue. So let's see what happens to finish out this clip, and then I'll check the chat. So yeah, you can see, it looks like this is the rear view camera of one of the riders in front looking back. So we had a couple people in the front of the group, a couple people in the back, maybe 10 riders or so in total in this group ride. We had riders in the front doing wheelies. Looks like we have more riders here in the back doing wheelies. I think this one in the back is the one that ends up having the issue and then runs into the rider up ahead. So you can see he's in mid wheelie right now. He comes down, and then boom, you see how quick, how much power that motorcycle has in that throttle. As soon as that front tire comes down, he whiskey throttles that thing, and it's just zooming down the road, taking him for a ride. And he's hanging off the bike, dragging his legs on the ground, and just trying to hold on for dear life. And then this rider that's ahead of him here in the middle lane, he's just kind of cruising, approaching this red light, not expecting anything, and boom, your buddy wipes you out from behind. Let's watch this. Boom. Now, fortunately for everybody involved, it was just kind of a minor impact right there. It looks like the front tire connected with the rear tire, just kind of bounced rubber off one another and then fell over. And obviously these guys are used to doing stunts and wheelies, so he's got a bunch of crash bars all over the bike. So looks like minimal damage to that, but this rider who's currently on the ground looks like just a pair of blue jeans, right, and tennis shoes and a black sweatshirt. So your legs are taking a bunch of damage from the slide, your knees are hitting the ground, probably at least doing 30, 40 miles an hour here. That's not going to feel good. That's going to lead to some big time injuries and bone bruises, maybe fractures, a bunch of road rash. It's not a good time. So this is something you want to avoid and be aware of. Yeah. And then, all the other people in the group are like almost running that rider over when he comes to a stop as he's sitting on the ground. And then, he's quick to pick his bike back up and hop back on. You got that adrenaline pumping through you, but, his knees, his legs might already be beat up, depending on the injuries he's sustained right there. So the adrenaline might fuel you to get your bike up, get back on, and continue with the group ride, but this is a good time to call the ride a day and go get medical attention and, think about life and stuff. We also got a 2-up rider here. So, yeah, risky situation with group rides. I've been in some group rides where everybody was focused on riding properly and safety, and everybody in the group was pretty experienced, responsible riders, and there were still issues that happened where, just based on the nature of motorcycle riding, things can get risky. Space cushions can close in, people can have issues and make mistakes and get into crashes. And so even with a really advanced group, I'll say, doing everything right, there's still a good percentage chance that things can go wrong and crashes can happen. So anything below that with a less experienced group, people not doing everything correctly, not safety oriented, then there's a big time chance for big issues. All right, let's check out the chat. Lovato, one thing that really stuck with me is to ride like I got a target on my back, and you really push to the notion that I need to be hyper vigilant because mistakes can kill you on a motorcycle. Cool. So hypervigilance, we were just talking about mistakes, and ride like you have a target. Yeah. So there's a big common piece of advice that riders give one another is to ride like you're invisible. And I heard that when I first started, and I kind of took that advice and was like, okay, but I wanted to go one further and think about how to improve on that piece of advice and like be even safer mentality wise. Do I just want to be invisible and sneak through the cracks and stuff, or does it feel more like other motorists are targeting me and out to get me and swerving towards me and cutting me off and like actively trying to do me harm and damage? If I'm thinking I'm invisible, that makes me feel like I can kind of just sneak my way around without much issue. But if I feel like people are hunting me on my bike and I have a target on me, that feels like I need to be way more defensive and like more prepared, checking my mirrors, looking around, not trusting these huge vehicles on all sides of me or other motorcycle riders that might run into me. I need to be like constantly on alert and moving and gaining information and awareness and anticipating people are coming to get me from all sides. Then I can position myself and maneuver myself around to watch out for that and to avoid that. So glad to hear that's a big one that's working out for you. That's one that's helped keep me alive on my motorcycle for many years. So glad I could pass that on. And the hypervigilance thing, yeah, I think that kind of comes from that. If you get used to that feeling that you're riding with a target on you, it gives you that heightened sense of awareness and vigilance that I need to stay full alert. If I let my judgment or my awareness lapse even for a moment, then they'll get me, right? So you stay full alert 100% of the time. It can be kind of mentally exhausting if you're, at first and for a while, but eventually you kind of get used to it, and it makes you such a better, safer rider because of it. But yeah, it'll take a lot out of you to kind of maintain that heightened state of awareness. You can make for exhausting motorcycle rides, but you're alive, so that's a good trade-off in my book. So yeah, this guy goes to check on his buddy. Looks like they're all good. All right, next clip. We're already hauling butt down the road. Ooh, that's sketchy. Wow. Yeah, he might have got lucky right there. See, what I don't like to see though, he almost went off the road and really had a really bad day right there. And he was able to recover and get back on, and then he immediately started like ripping and racing and speeding right away again. And that's one thing I hate to see is you just got a free pass, you know? You just got so lucky and now you're going to throw that away. So already right here, the clip starts with we're in the wrong lane. We have, it looks like the headlights of another vehicle right up ahead coming. So we're speeding. Can't tell exactly what the speedometer says. I don't know. But we're racing past this car. We got our buddy up ahead, probably just past this car as well. So we're trying to keep up. We're in the canyons. We're in the twisties here. We're already in this mind state of adrenaline and excitement. And I want to go race this bike through the canyons and keep up with my buddies and speed, you know. And that is such a common mistake for a lot of riders is they haven't learned the skills yet to be able to accomplish this, right? They haven't taken enough training or done enough classes or whatever. So they get excited about the machine's capabilities, right? The motorcycle has the ability to go really fast and to lean and to flick around these curves. But the rider on this machine isn't there, right? They don't have those same abilities that the bike does. But that's what a lot of beginner riders and novice riders think is like, because the machine is so awesome, I can just get on it and I'm going to be awesome. But that's a huge mistake, and that's one that gets people killed is they twist that throttle, they start racing around, leaning in and out of these turns, and the bike will absolutely do all that stuff, but the rider error is what causes the issue, right? So, and right here is a perfect example. Just this one picture alone, in the wrong lane, double yellow line, twists and turns, oncoming vehicles, passing other vehicles in turns, racing beyond the speed limit. It's all bad things. It's all a recipe for disaster, right? And then let's see how it plays out. So yeah, and once you start exceeding your speed and you have these kinds of twists and turns, if you don't have those skills developed, then you're just kind of holding on for dear life, hoping for the best as you come around these turns. So you can see the rider up ahead there. It looks like they have some brakes engaged. So I'd say kind of poor riding technique, hauling ass into these turns and then trying to shed a bunch of speed as you're in the middle of your curve in the apex. It's pretty poor technique, I think, as opposed to adjusting your speed ahead of time and then being able to maintain or roll on the throttle through the curves much better. And you can see this rider that we're on board with kind of coming charging into this turn after passing that vehicle, and now they have this left turn here, but they're flying into it. They're probably already hard on the brakes, and they're just heading right towards the shoulder here. And thankfully there was a shoulder here, right? And just wide enough. Like, look at that. As soon as he hits that, it's like sand and gravel here, so it's kind of tossing him back and forth. You know, front wheels, bars are kind of slapping. Rear wheel might be sliding around, losing traction here. But think about if this little patch of shoulder wasn't here. If this was a metal guardrail, this dude would be already folded in half around the guardrail, right? Or if there wasn't this much of a width of a shoulder here and it was just kind of a regular 2-foot shoulder and then maybe more of a cliff or a downhill drop right here, this rider would already be flying off the cliff on the motorcycle, flying down the hill, tumbling down the hillside. So how lucky is this rider to have this much width of a shoulder to make this mistake, to run off into, and then he's able to kind of stay. You can see the handlebars bouncing back and forth. That's a good head check right there. I like to point out some positive things in these clips as well. So he is able to ride that shoulder out and hop back on, and at least he does a little quick head check to maybe see the coast is clear. Not that it would do him much good already being in the road if somebody was coming up to hit him, but I like to see trying to gain some awareness there. taking a look back, making sure something's not coming. So then it looks like he takes his left hand off there. Maybe he's signaling. I imagine that car that was in the beginning of the clip looked like a 350Z. That's probably one of their buddies that they're out here racing these canyons with. You know, not uncommon to have motorcycles and cars all ripping and cruising together. So maybe they're taking their hand off, signaling to that driver behind them. But yeah, then this is the part that I really have an issue with. You just got so lucky not wrecking yourself going off the road right there. And then you manage to get back on, and then watch what he does. Instead of like slow it down, pull off, take a breath, just immediately back on the throttle, ripping around the turns, and like, you know, take a moment, take a pause, catch your breath. Maybe pull your bike off and do some self-reflection and some introspection and some analysis of what just happened. I almost died. If those conditions wouldn't have been perfect the way they were, if there would have been guardrails just like this shot, I would have been hitting those guardrails and doing severe damage to my body and my bike. And so there's a lot to process right there. It's a good time to pull it off and take a look at what just went down and try to learn from it right then and there, you know? All right, let's move on. Let's do like one more here, and then we'll take a little break. Friend crashes motorcycle, bruised, nothing broken. It's good to hear. And I like those big cushy seats on that cruiser there. I'm used to riding a lot of sport bikes with like a piece of cardboard under your butt. Always love hopping on a cruiser and having actual cushioning. This chain came off, the sprocket. All right, so let's check that one out again now that we saw it all the way. See if we can dissect what went wrong here. Yeah, that one starts out really quick. Let's see if we can catch it. It's like right in the beginning of the clip. So it looks like that rider ahead on the green sport bike actually makes contact with the guardrail right there at the beginning of that clip. They're already crashing, already going down. So similar to the last one, we have a double yellow line. We have some curves. None of these curves are anything to, you know, worry about. They're all super mellow and shouldn't be an issue if you just reduce your speed and take your time. But a lot of these bikers trying to haul butt through here. Looking at the speedometer, it looks like this cruiser is doing about 50 right here. So maybe the sport bike rider up ahead was going a little faster or maybe similar speed. But we got oncoming vehicles. We got a tow truck here with a car on it. As soon as you see other vehicles on the road, slow it down. Curve up ahead, slow it down. Guardrails. We even got the little signs with the I forget what those are called, the chevrons, letting you know, like, hey, left turn, slow down, prepare for a turn. We got these huge poles right here for the power lines going. Looks like we have some kind of big facility off to the right side here. So we got this big barbed wire fence, chain link fence on the side. So it looks like this area is set up to give you awareness that, hey, you need to reduce your speed. You need to slow it down through this particular curve. That's one of the primary reasons they put guardrail around certain curves, is because they anticipate drivers will go right off the road here and crash through that fence and wipe out, maybe hit this big pole for the power line. So setting up this guardrail to act as a buffer there and kind of a safety net to catch you in a way. So that's one indicator to have right away, is like, if there's all this stuff in this curve, slow down, prepare for that. Take your time here so you don't wipe out and hit the guardrail. So let's see if we can get a little more information here. So you can already see whatever speed that sport bike rider was doing. As soon as he hits that guardrail, his bike dumps. He's already kind of somersaulting across the ground. Boom, boom, boom. You can see the bike kind of bouncing along. Now this cruiser does a pretty good job here. He sees the crash up ahead, which is never a fun thing when you're riding with your buddy. You hate to see anybody go down. Kind of makes you, freaks you out for a minute. But he does good to kind of straighten up, keep his bike under control, not run over his buddy right there. You could see a little bit of that counter steering, that swerve, as his friend is still somersaulting and kind of moving back towards the white line. This cruiser is able to kind of push on the bars and just maneuver the bike around and not run over his friend, which could have made the crash so much worse. Yeah, he does good here by maneuvering, and now he's just, slowly reducing speed, pulls it off, parks the bike. Now he's heading back to check on his friend. Now, here, I always like to pause right here and take a look at gear, right? What are we wearing? We're out for a motorcycle ride. Are we ready for that? Are we protected? Now, one thing that I already identify, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor on here, but he's got one of like those carabiners with his keys hanging on his belt loop of his pants. That's a hew down. That thing's going to grind right into your hip and cause lacerations and big time damage by you falling on that and sliding on that on the pavement, as opposed to if you tuck those keys away somewhere else safely, then that's not going to mess you up so much. But that's a big thing to be aware of right there. I used to skateboard a ton, and sometimes I'd have a carabiner just like that hanging with my keys or something, and just falling on a skateboard doing 5 miles an hour and sliding across the concrete, that tore me up. So big thing to be aware of. Hard to tell here. Maybe some riding pants, maybe some armor in the knees there. Looks a little bulky. Hard to tell what the material is. Could even be some leather, but maybe just a pair of black jeans or kind of windbreaker pants. Hard to tell with the shoes, if they're just tennis shoes or some boots. And then up here, it looks like just some kind of sweatshirt or windbreaker. Very thin material. Doesn't look like much protection on that. Let's see if we can get a little more information. Yeah, so kind of just some cargo pants, I'd say. It looks like even maybe some motorcycle-ish boots or dress shoes, but kind of just plain thin cargo pants, some kind of windbreaker sweatshirt here. Yeah, and this tearing up your left hip. And then the gloves don't look that great either, kind of just some real thin gardening gloves or something like that. So we could definitely do a lot better with gear here, get fully geared up, especially if we're going to be racing around on this high performance sport bike here. But he's up on his feet. That's always good to see. Looks like he's rubbing at that left hip with his hand, maybe already feeling some of the damage he took there. Usually if people are holding a certain body part or touching it, then that's a sign that they're already experienced injury in that location. Yeah, and then at this point, the tow truck was just right around the corner back there, so maybe you try to flag him down and say, hey, can you toss my bike on as well? Yeah, minimal damage though. That's at least one benefit or one positive on that crash is going into some soft grass, having your chain come off the sprocket. Could have been worse, but yeah. Slow it down. Awareness. Be prepared for what's ahead. All right, let's watch one more here, and then we'll take a little break. See what we got. Already cars up ahead. We're near the beach. We got palm trees. This is my kind of spot. So there's slow traffic here, so we're racing, and then boom. A lot of motorcycle riders running into their buddies in this video. Just playing bumper bikes, right? Motorcycle version of bumper cars. Now they're like kind of communicating, checking in with each other, like, you good or what? Yeah, let's take one more look at that. So a lot of these cases, it's like no harm, no foul. Not much damage done. Bikes are okay. We're uninjured. But a lot of riders will make the mistake of just stopping there with it, right? Like, oh, we're both fine. Nothing happened. We're both alive. Our bikes aren't totaled. Let's not speak of it again. But that's a great moment to rewatch this clip when you get home, or even pull off right up ahead and talk about it and say, what went wrong right there? What was the issue? What was the cause and effect? What problems did we have up ahead? What threats? What awareness did we have? Were we distracted at all? What can we improve on for next time, right? Like me right here, I'm already seeing 2 cars up ahead, brake lights going. So one of the worst things you want to do is vehicles ahead of you are slowing down or stopping. You don't want to try and rip around them, right? That's a recipe to set yourself up for that high pressure situation where, you're trying to speed up and go faster and get around slow stuff. And usually there's a reason people are slowing down, right? So if you go racing around them, you meet that reason head on. And sometimes it kills you. All right, so I'm looking at the markings on the ground here because this will help your awareness too. It's both a straight arrow here, and they said only, big old letters on the ground. So it's only straight, so there's no turning expected to be happening here. Can't tell the light, if the stoplight is a red right now. Trying to identify if I see anything. Yeah, it looks like a red light. Maybe a flashing red. Hard to tell, but look at this car up ahead. It's already over the line, so whether this light was changing or just turned red, one of the cars is kind of halfway through the intersection past this white solid line on the ground. This SUV here hasn't gone beyond it yet. This biker up ahead looks like his brake lights lit up, like maybe he's preparing to slow down and stop. But then this rider who made the sudden lane change, he doesn't have information, right? People are slowing down and stopping. Instead of slowing down and stopping with them, he swerves around the car and tries to go racing around them. And now, like the light turned red. These vehicles are in the intersection. Now it's the cross traffic's turn to go, and they start pulling out across the road, looks like, or they're preparing to. Yeah, like, see these cars on the right here, they want to go. They probably have a green light now to turn left and come across. And instead, you have all these people that were in a big rush and speeding are sticking out halfway through the intersection, crashing into each other. So now you have this big old recipe for disaster, rear-ending your buddy on his motorcycle. So let's watch it in real time, full speed one more time. See if we can analyze all that in a split second, right? That's what you need to be able to do on your bike to keep you safe, is process all this as it happens. Like there's his buddy, but then his buddy stops, and you can see the foot was coming down, so he was preparing to stop. And this guy on the red orange bike just, instead of stopping, just smacks right into the back of him. So then they decide, hey, we're already 3/4 of the way through the intersection, had a collision, let's just keep going. So it's kind of silly. Kind of silly situation here. All right, so we said we were going to take a break there, so let's stick to it. We'll return shortly. If you're still hanging out, I appreciate you. Feel free to say hi in the chat. I'll be right back in a few. We'll check out some more of these. We'll get a little motorcycle poll up here as well. That way we can get some questions and some answers, some feedback going while I'm gone. Have you ever been in a motorcycle crash? Yes or no? Boom. All right, we just tossed a poll up in the chat. So if you're in here, if you enter in, you can add your answer to the poll. Have you ever been involved or in a motorcycle accident? Yes or no? Also, there's a pinned message if for those of you who haven't noticed already. One of our family's cats has some medical issues, so if you have the means, we ask for some support, help out with that, and we greatly appreciate it. And Lovato, if you're still hanging, appreciate you. I'll be back in a few, and we'll keep on going. Alrighty. Alrighty. We're gonna hop back in and keep on cruising. Jump right into this next clip here. Alright, so we already got some information on the screen. Cold tires. We're already blowing through stop signs. At least we're doing a didn't make it very far through the stop sign, did he? I was gonna say I liked the head check at least, but little advertisement. I think you need to equip your skull with a brain instead of your motorcycle with any fancy technology. That'll probably help. Equip your motorcycle with a skillful rider on it. That'll help you. Try and get back to the beginning of this clip if we can. Having some connection issues, latency, buffering. Right, because we have our quality bumped way up. Let's see if we can tone it down a smidge to help. Just so we can keep on cruising. Well, while this is thinking about loading up, there we go. Okay. Bump the quality down just a smidge, see if that helps things. Alright, so we're back to this one. So let's see what we can learn. So obviously this stuff on the screen is just added after the fact, but in the real-time situation, we're riding with our buddy. We're out for some fun on our motorcycles. Looks like the guy up in front, so maybe on some kind of dual sport or enduro, if I had to guess. This guy here that we're on board with, some kind of sport bike. And we got a stop sign here. We're making a left turn. You can kind of see the lighting, the conditions. Kind of gives you that feel that maybe it's a little bit cold out. So our buddy blows right through the stop sign with like a minimal pause. So of course we're going to follow that great example. I do like this real big head turn here, checking for cross traffic, but that's why that stop sign exists, so that you can sit here and take your time and make sure the coast is clear before you just go ripping out there with your buddy. But he's got a good space there, but it's right about here, like the bike's already going down. So it's like as he's doing that head check, gaining awareness there, he's getting on the throttle. And cold tires, cold pavement. You can see he tries to correct his steering there too as he feels that back end kind of losing traction and slipping out. He's trying to turn his bars. And it just looks like he jumps on the throttle. Back tire just washes out. And down you go. And your buddy's still just like ripping off down the road. Alright, enough said about that. Some things we can learn from that is slow down, just like that earlier example. Get up to that stop sign, pause for a moment, take a breath, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the environment and the conditions that you're riding in. You decided to get up and hopefully put gear on and go out for a motorcycle ride with your buddy. So you already need to have that mental state of, what's the weather like? What's the temperature like? What am I getting into before you even get out there and face that? You should already be ahead of that. All right, next clip here, we got some dark nighttime conditions. So this is another awareness. Your buddy hits you up and say, hey man, you want to go for a cruise? And it's super dark and late. Oh, wow. Just some debris sitting in the street. That's no good. Let's try and go back and look at that. Some kind of giant, like one of those plastic orange barriers just chilling in the lane. Yeah, that sucks. Obviously, it looks like this rider is speeding down the road and riding outside the limits, and clearly at nighttime, if you have reduced visibility, you can't just haul butt. Like, all you can see is as far as your headlights shine, right? And then everything else is pitch black. So there could be anything hiding in those spots beyond your headlights, right? Potholes, debris, people laying in the street. Another motorcyclist biffed it and is laying down the road. You never know what's in those black, dark spaces that your headlights aren't illuminating. So it's right back to gaining information. We need to slow down. We need to be able to gain information at a rate that we can see it, our brain can process it, and then we can actually do something and react to it if there is a hazard or a threat there. We can't just haul butt and hope the road is clear and then suddenly see this orange barricade and say, oh crap, and then smash into it, which is exactly what happens here. So notice the other vehicles on the road. There's brake lights lit up. There's a decent bit of traffic on this stretch. And this rider's just kind of hauling butt, passing everybody. Hard to tell once again what the speed is here. Maybe 70 something, maybe 100 and something. I can't tell what that says. But yeah, we're flying through traffic. We're changing lanes. And then that is the moment. Just by the time our headlights shine on that orange barrier, it's too late, right? We're hitting it in the next second. So we need to be able to see it, react to it, and then take action and deal with it. Not see it and then bang, hit it. It's not a winning strategy ever. Yeah, that's a bummer. And like, clearly this area, you know, you can point out that they should have had more reflective stuff set up. They should have had cones set up. They should have had indicators that there was something in the road, that some road work was being done. There shouldn't just be a barrier sitting in the lane like that ever, right? Otherwise, the vehicles will just fly up and crash into it. You kind of need a precursor to the barrier, right? There's something up ahead, a warning system, an advanced system. But maybe there's a chance, you know, the weather conditions, it's windy, something happened. That barrier might have been on the median or the shoulder to begin with, and it might have gotten blown out by the wind into the lane. Maybe another vehicle bumped it earlier and pushed it into the lane. Maybe some person came along, you know, and set it there. You never know what the circumstances in the situation is going to be. What you need to be able to do is react to anything, right? So regardless of how or why that barrier ended up in the lane, you need to be able to see it on your bike, have time to respond to it, and not let it kill you, right? So it's never anybody else's fault, because you are ultimately in control of your machine and your life. You have to be able to take care of it, right? So, and part of that is anticipating and expecting the unexpected. As soon as you look over, you see your buddy doing a wheelie into a backflip on his sport bike. Ooh, wow. It catches some air right there, doesn't it? That's a bummer one. So let's see if we can do any kind of quick analysis on that one. Quick little crash review on what happened. You can see he's airborne right there, feet flailing off the back. That's a bummer. So anytime you're on the highways cruising, don't know what the speeds are, but we got traffic. We're on like a 4-lane highway, probably doing anywhere from 60 to 75 miles an hour, maybe even a little faster on these crotch rockets. You're riding in a group. It looks like minimal gear. It looks like our buddy up ahead is just wearing a t-shirt, flying up, got skin showing, a pair of jeans, some sneakers on. Typical motorcycle rider gear right there, right? It looks like the guy we're on board with at least has some decent gauntlet gloves on, which is good to see. Hard to tell about the quality of the jacket or anything else at this point, but we want to be fully geared up. Even if we're riding totally responsibly, fully geared up in case something happens. If we have any sense in our brain that we're going to go ride with our buddies and we might do some higher speeds, we might goof around a little bit, absolutely must have full gear if there's any chance you're going to add to your risk, right? So never good to just be out there in a t-shirt. And this guy, try to pause it on his gear there so we could see what this guy's wearing. Hard to get the... Alright, let's see. So he's got a pair of like riding boots on. Just looks like a pair of dark jeans on top of that though. And then maybe some kind of long sleeve t-shirt. Hard to tell from there, but we're on the 4-lane highway. We're doing highway speeds, riding a group, and here comes the, BMW RR 1000 doing a wheelie and not executing it well and crashing as a result at these highway speeds. Hard to tell what happens here. He kind of like, you can see he's up on the back wheel and he kind of, it starts to steer, right? Like the rear tire starts to get into a lean. And then it's almost like he catches an edge, like on a snowboard or something like that, where you catch your edge and it just all of a sudden bites on the traction and sends you flipping. If you watch the rear wheel, it almost looks like that's what happens. Like he starts to go up and it angles and then it like catches and just sends him into this front flip. Now, who knows what kind of braking errors or whatever are involved right there, but the problem is we're doing wheelies on the highway, not wearing full gear, and riding with our buddies, trying to show off for the camera footage, and we end up crashing and sliding on the highway on your face, doing 75 miles an hour. The solution is don't do that. Have awareness that you and your buddies like to goof around and go fast, so take it to the track, right? Get fully geared up, go get a track day pass, and have some fun out there. Don't do this stuff on the highway and get yourself killed, right? So now your bike's totaled, you're sliding across the ground, your body's wrecked. But hey, at least you got some great footage for MotoStars and for Instructor Cory to review later on. Yeah, and they had more people in the group, it looked like, behind them, so now everybody's got to swerve and avoid running over your buddy who's sliding on his face down the road. It's not a good situation. Another group ride. Lots of group rides in this one. I love this road. Conditions look great. It's another kind of like high side. So high sides usually occur when the rear tire is out of alignment with the front and you end up applying some brakes and then jumping off those rear brakes while your rear end is out of alignment. Then that rear end tries to like regain traction suddenly, and that's what usually causes that bike to kind of buck back into alignment and launch you. Quite a big group there. So we'll try and go back and see what actually happened in this one, if we can. What do we got going here? Can we go back? There we go. Having a little... go that far back. Alright, so here we are back on board. So yeah, I love the conditions. Conditions look great. The lighting is a little dark here. Could just be the camera settings or whatever, but we're in a group ride. The formation actually looks decent. We have a little bit of space cushioning. Maybe could use a little more between this green bike here on the right and this looks like a blue bike right behind him. Maybe back it off a little bit. Give each other some more space to make maneuvers and deal with unexpected hazards. The third bike that's in the back here, I like the amount of space cushion it looks like we have there. So these guys aren't totally bunched up. A little bit of room to maneuver. That's good. Looks like we have eyes on this. Looks like a kind of an R6 or something, this blue one here. This might be the one that crashes. Yeah, the road's mostly straight. Very mild curve here. Looks like this rider just kind of maybe distracted. It looks almost as though from the angle of this camera view here, maybe the rider that we're on board with that's filming maybe cut this corner really tight and went into the oncoming lane, you know, based on this positioning here. And maybe the blue bike tried to follow him and then, you know, thought twice about it, tried to correct, and ended up having this kind of high side happen. It was almost like a high side, low side. It's kind of weird. Yeah, you see how the bike just kind of tosses and turns back and forth right there. But yeah, very mild curves. Looks like that rider just kind of lost control there and tried to correct it. The problem is, without a lot of training and developing that muscle memory, more often than not, the correction comes in the form of, oh crap, grab a hold of front brake, and that ends up causing big issues and slamming you on the ground. See what happens next. So we're cruising. Looks like another highway here, like another 4-lane road. Looks like we're doing 100 and something. That's probably kilometers per hour. Everything looks pretty good so far. We know we had a vehicle just behind us there, so if we're making these lane changes, we need to be aware that that vehicle might still hit us. Ooh, okay, so that's kind of that divided. There's like a drop in the lanes right there. It made me think one of those like truck weigh stations right there that was in the big yellow rectangle. And this rider was kind of pulling off on the shoulder, and then looked like they tried to get over one more time and just fell off that drop. So yeah, you can have uneven lanes, uneven pavement, but it looked like one of those big truck scales or something he falls into right there. And the road looks really beat up right there anyway, so we need to expect some issues, some cracks in the road, some uneven pavement, some graded and milled stuff. But yeah, just pausing here, looking at the condition of the road. Looks like a lot of patchwork stuff going on, especially on the highway if you're doing any bit of higher speeds. As soon as you identify the road surface and these textures and kind of bumps and discolorations, it's probably been patched, it's probably beat up. It's probably really rough terrain and some reduced traction. So we want to already be slowing it down. If we have plans here to pull off and merge over, we need to keep that in mind. So we see these signs up here on the right. There's like a big white sign, some yellow signs. So it's letting you know there's some kind of situation here in this big yellow rectangle, like maybe it's a spot for trucks to a weigh station like I'm thinking, or just a spot for them to pull off and kind of rest. Not sure what the deal is. You can see this circular sign right there. See if I can go back to it. Yeah, we're pulling off. This rider wants to take a break and kind of, but yeah, notice that circular sign there that's white with like the red X through it. It's letting you know, don't stop here, don't do something here. But this area looks like maybe meant for bigger trucks to pull in and kind of slow down and climb up onto this rectangular spot and maybe just have a rest area or check their load or get some kind of inspection done. But yeah, where we're at now, we're kind of like in this in-between of the lanes. He's off the highway. We're on this little shoulder kind of section. And then he doesn't anticipate that. Yeah, you can see how beat up that edge is right there. Crossing over that bump, that edge, there's weeds growing up through the asphalt right there. So it looks like it's a little bit of a drop, maybe a couple inches there. Maybe there's a gap. But the rider tries to just cross over it with their wheels, their tires parallel to that crack and just kind of falls over unexpectedly into this area here. So anytime you want to cross over any bump or edge like that, you want to try and do so at more of a 45-degree angle if you can, and cross over not parallel to it. That way it doesn't catch your tires. That way you don't fall over. You want to be able to kind of angle yourself, get over that bump. Also a good tip to stand up on your pegs and use your legs as shock absorbers as you ride over this bump. Keep from jarring your body, chattering your teeth. Yeah, looks like he was going pretty slow there at least, and just kind of somersaulted once he fell. So hopefully minimal damage, if any. But a big thing to be aware of for sure. All right, cruising right along with this one. If you're just popping in the chat, feel free to jump in, say hello. We got a poll up. Feel free to vote in the poll. Appreciate you being here. Don't be shy. We love to have you. On the highway, if you're doing any bit of higher speeds, as soon as you identify the road surface and these textures and kind of bumps and discolorations, it's probably been patched, it's probably beat up, it's probably really rough terrain and some reduced traction. So we want to already be slowing it down. If we have plans here to pull off and merge over, we need
donc pas d'accélération. Mais j'ai quand même perdu l'adhérence. Le crash. Le crash. Tiens, mon allure, donc pas d'accélération. Mais j'ai quand même perdu l'adhérence. Le crash.
This is one of those clips that show how a minor disagreement can escalate into completely unnecessary aggression on the roads.
At Harbor Freight, we design and test Hello there.
You okay? Wait!
I hate stopping. I'm about to run it red. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's too early. I'm not even warmed up. Come on, guys.
Hey guys, in today's episode I've got a bunch of unexpected and crazy situations that these riders had to face. I hope you can learn something from this, so check this out and ride safe. I hope you can learn something from this, so check this out and ride safe.
Oh. L'ho riparata mo. Lascia perdere la moto, pensa a te. No, io sto a posto.
Riding a group is never boring and this case was no exception. Fortunately no one got hurt.
Oh. Yo. You alright, bro? Hey, you good? Good? Yeah. Back good?
The chain.
This situation perfectly shows how a moment of inattention and small misunderstanding can lead to some serious trouble.
You alright? Holy. Holy. It was red. Nice.
In this case, speed was definitely the main reason for the rider's problems. There was simply not enough time to react. This rider changed his mind pretty quickly and unfortunately made a rather risky move.
pas d'accélération. Mais j'ai quand même perdu l'adhérence. Le crash.
This is one of those clips that show how a minor disagreement can escalate into completely unnecessary aggression on the roads.
Hello there.
You okay? Wait!
I hate stopping. I'm about to run a red. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's too early. I'm not even warmed up.